Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Miriam and I am part of Canadian's marketing team. Today we are going to be discussing the Spousal Sponsorship Program. The Canadian Spousal Sponsorship Program is one of the key components of Canada's immigration system. This program allows Canadian permanent residents and citizens to sponsor their spouses, common law partners, and conjugal partners to come live with them permanently in Canada. This program is a central part of Canada's immigration policy, reflecting the country's values of keeping families united. The Canadian government recognizes that family is the cornerstone of a thriving society. Their immigration policies are structured to facilitate family reunification. The goal of the program is really straightforward, in that it allows Canadian citizens and permanent residents to sponsor their spouses or partners for permanent residency in Canada. Before you start, it is crucial to understand the different types of categories under this program. First, we are going to talk about the different types of relationships that are eligible for sponsorship in Canada. There are three primary relationships that qualify for sponsorship, and it is important to know which one applies to you and your situation. Each situation that I'm going to talk about comes with its own eligibility requirements as well as supporting documentation. So let's quickly break down the three options. At number one, we have spouse. This is the simplest and most common category. In order to sponsor your spouse, you must be legally married. In this case, this person would be your legally recognized husband, wife, or partner. For this option, not only do you need a valid marriage certificate, but you also need to prove your relationship with supporting documentation in order to show IRCC, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, that your relationship is genuine. The type of documentation needed to prove the genuineness of your relationship is depending on your own unique situation. So if you've already tied the knot, this category is perfect for you. The second category you may fall under is common law partner. If you and your partner have lived together for at least one continuous year, you may qualify for common law sponsorship. In Canada, a common law relationship is the same as a marriage in the eyes of the law. When applying through common law sponsorship, it is important to show proof of cohabilitation. This could include shared leases, utility bills under both names, joint bank accounts, and other documents that show you've been together in a marriage-like committed relationship for at least one continuous year. Your third option is conjugal partner. Now, this is the most unique category in that it applies to individuals who have been in a relationship for at least 1 year. However, these individuals have been unable to live together or marry due to extenuating circumstances. These circumstances may include political circumstances, war, or other specific situations. To prove this type of relationship, applicants must provide strong proof of the relationship and the barriers preventing cohabitation, marriage, or distance that has kept the couple apart. Conjugal partners may also apply if one partner is unable to live with another partner due to circumstances beyond their control. This situation is often more complex and the documentation requirements can be more detailed. Now we are going to talk about inland versus outland sponsorship. Once you've determined which relationship applies to your situation, the next step is to choose the right sponsorship class. So there are two main categories under the Spousal Sponsorship Program, and these are inland sponsorship and outland sponsorship. For outland sponsorship, this applies if the person you are applying for, aka the principal applicant, lives outside of Canada. Or it can also be that the principal applicant lives in Canada, but they do not intend on staying in Canada for the entire duration of the application process. The family class sponsorship is perfect for couples who are separated by distance and need to navigate the immigration process from abroad. Even if the sponsored partner is in Canada and they intend to return to their home country, they can still apply through Outland sponsorship. Additionally, one of the main benefits of the Outland sponsorship is that your partner can apply for either a temporary resident visa or an electronic travel authorization, which allows them to come to Canada while their application is being processed. However, keep in mind that these visas are given out at the discretion of the visa officer. Having said that, presenting a solid application is crucial. Now let's talk about inland sponsorship. Inland sponsorship applies if the sponsored person is already living with you in Canada and the principal applicant either currently holds or previously has held valid Canadian immigration status. This is often the preferred option for couples who are already living together in Canada and wish to settle here permanently. However, if your spouse or common law partner is out of status in Canada, meaning that they don't have valid immigration status, they may still be eligible for sponsorship under certain conditions. One disadvantage of the inland sponsorship is that the principal applicant, aka your partner, should not leave Canada during the application process. This is because if they do leave, they may face difficulties re-entering, as Canadian immigration officers have discretionary power over their re-entry. Now you may be asking, Miriam, how long does the whole entire process take? And to that I say, it depends. The standard processing time for most inland applications being made outside of Quebec is about 34 months from the time that you submit your application until you receive a decision. The reason why I say the answer to this question depends is that processing times can vary based on a variety of different factors. For example, if you are applying for inland sponsorship from inside of Quebec, the processing time for inland applications then can extend to 38 months due to Quebec's own immigration procedures. For Outland sponsorship, the processing time typically takes around 11 months if you are applying from a province outside of Quebec. However, if you are applying from inside of Quebec, this processing time then extends to 37 months. Some other factors that may influence your processing time includes the completeness of your application, additional requests, and criminal or medical checks. In regards to the completeness of your application, if you do submit your application and it is incomplete, then in turn, you will experience a greater processing time. It is important to ensure that you include all necessary documentation as well as fill out all required forms and the application in full to avoid potential delays and to ensure a successful outcome. In regards to additional requests, immigration authorities may ask for more information or documentation after receiving your initial submission. Hence, this whole process can extend the timeline. If your spouse or partner needs a criminal record check or a medical examination, this can also add to the processing time. Now let's break down the costs of sponsoring a spouse. The government processing fees as of today are as follows. I will also list it on the screen. The sponsorship fee is $85, the principal applicant fee is $545, and the right of permanent residence fee is $575. This brings the total to $1,205 for both the sponsor and the principal applicant. If you have dependent children, it is an extra $175 per child. In addition to these fees, the Canadian government also requires biometric information, which is part of the application process. The biometric fee is $85 per person and it is valid for up to 10 years. It is suggested to pay the right of permanent residence fee as well as the biometrics fee upfront to avoid potential delays in your application. If you intend on settling in Quebec, it is important to know that Quebec has its own process. You will need to obtain a Certificat de Sélection de Québec, which is also known as Quebec Selection Certificate, and pay additional processing fees specific to Quebec's immigration policies. Now I'm going to break down a little of what the process would look like if you worked with us at Canada. At Canada, we understand that the process can be overwhelming. However, with the right help and guidance, it can be much more manageable. When you work with us, the process becomes much more straightforward, and here's how it works. So the first step would be to complete our free immigration assessment located on our website www.canadine.com, but it is also linked in the description box below. Additionally, you could also email us at info@canadine.com. Once you fill out the free immigration assessment form, it allows us to assess your eligibility for the spousal sponsorship program. The next step would be an immigration attorney review. In this step, one of our immigration lawyers will carefully review your profile and send you a booking link in order to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. Next comes the service agreement. Once we deem you eligible, you will sign a formal service agreement, which marks the official beginning of your sponsorship application. One of the most daunting and stressful parts of the application process is ensuring that you have gathered all the correct documents and making sure that you are not missing anyone. At Canada, you can take the stress off of yourself and rest assured that we will help you gather all required documentation, fill out forms, and ensure that everything is entirely complete prior to submitting your application. You also don't have to worry about submitting your own application because we will do that on your behalf. From the moment of submission to the final decision, we will be with you every single step of the way, keeping you informed and updated on the status of your application. What happens if your application is refused? Sometimes, despite best efforts, an application may be refused. If your application is denied, do not panic, as there are ways to go about and steps you can take to address the refusal. If your Outland application is refused, you can file for an appeal or submit an entirely new application. It is crucial to understand the reasons for your refusal so that you can address any of the issues moving forward. If you haven't done so already, consulting an immigration lawyer at this step is critical, as it is very important to understand your refusal letter and to plan your next steps. You may not know this, but there are ongoing obligations as a sponsor. As a sponsor, you have important financial obligations. When you sponsor your spouse, common law, or conjugal partner, you must agree to support their basic needs for the next 3 years. This means that you'll be responsible for their housing, food, and healthcare needs. If your sponsored spouse requires government assistance during this period, you will have to repay the full amount. It is important to note that this obligation remains in place even if your relationship ends, if your spouse becomes a Canadian citizen, or if they decide to move elsewhere. This brings me to the most frequently asked questions in regards to spousal sponsorship. Number 1, can I sponsor my spouse if I am unemployed? To your surprise, yes, you can still sponsor your spouse if you are unemployed. However, you have to prove that you have the financial means to support them. The immigration officer may assess your financial situation to ensure that you can meet these obligations. Number 2, can my spouse work while waiting for approval? Yes. Your spouse can apply for an open work permit once the application is submitted and after you receive your acknowledgement of receipt letter confirming that your permanent residence application is being processed. Number 3, can I cancel my spousal or partner sponsorship applications? Yes, you can withdraw your sponsorship application at any time before the sponsored person becomes a permanent resident of Canada. The IRCC may refuse this request if they decide to move forward with the application. Number 4, what happens if my application is refused? As we mentioned earlier, if your application is refused, you have the right to appeal or submit a new application. It is essential and recommended to seek legal assistance when reviewing the refusal letter, as it is very important to address any issues before moving forward. Number 5, can my spouse or common law partner include their family members on our spousal sponsorship application? Yes, their dependent children under the age of 22 can be included in the application. And in some cases, children over the age of 22 can qualify if they meet specific requirements. Number 6, is an interview required for spousal sponsorship? Interviews are rare and usually occur when there are concerns regarding the authenticity of the relationship, such as discrepancies in the information provided or limited cohabitation. Number 7, can I sponsor my spouse if I have a criminal record? In certain cases, a criminal record can prevent you from sponsoring a partner, especially if it involves serious offenses like sexual or violent crimes. If you do have a criminal record and want to sponsor your spouse or partner, it is highly recommended to check with an immigration lawyer for guidance. Number 8? I think it's number 8. Can my spouse, common law, or conjugal partner come to Canada while waiting for approval? Yes, they can either apply for a temporary resident visa or an electronic travel authorization, which both allows them to come to Canada while their application is being processed. Based in the heart of Montreal, Quebec, Canadian is a well-respected law firm helping individuals from all across the world, making their dreams of living in Canada a reality since 2001. With over 2 decades of experience, Canadian has earned its reputation as one of the most trusted and reliable immigration law firms in Canada. Sponsoring your spouse or partner for Canadian permanent residency is a very rewarding yet extensive process. With proper preparation, the right guidance, and a clear understanding of the requirements, you can successfully and confidently navigate through each step. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it to somebody you think may be interested in spousal sponsorship. Also, don't forget to click the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates on Canadian immigration. If you have any questions regarding anything that I discussed in this video, please leave them in the comments below, as I do read all your comments and I do my best to answer each one of them to the best of my abilities. If you're ready to start your journey, we encourage you to reach out and get in contact with us today by completing the free online assessment. As I mentioned, that is linked in the description box below, or emailing us at info@canadine.com. In addition to the free immigration assessment form and our website, which I linked in the description box, I've also included some other important links you may want to check out. At Canadine, we are committed to helping you reunite with your loved ones. So let us help make your dream of living together with your spouse or partner a reality for you. That brings me to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something that you did not know before about spousal sponsorship. And as always, I will see you in my next video.